the top now. No, nothing can move you.
Right there. Yep, as you know, Governor Cuomo is having a lot of issues going on today. He got a lot of accusations of women claiming he's a little too touchy feeling, too much of a sticky hands. All that stuff. And you know something, man? As I look at that smile, that's a creepy smile, man. That's kind of like your boy down there in Florida killed all them women. And the one that got executed, I forgot his name. But that's kind of crazy looking. That's a crazy looking picture of Governor Cuomo. Well, you know how I feel about Governor Cuomo. I met Governor Cuomo quite a few times doing some union activism. I met him when he had the white shirt on with the nipple ring. Wanted to tell him, Governor, don't nobody want to see that. Man, you can get a pack of 4 t-shirts for $5.99 at the 99-cent store. You might want to go over there and pick you up a couple pack, because nobody wants to see those, man. Nobody. Not even these women you've been allegedly filling up. But that's beside the point. You know my reason for my issues with Governor Cuomo. The issues were early treatment for COVID and him doing whatever he can to block that treatment from getting to the people. Giving outpatient centers an opportunity to treat people once they know exactly they had COVID. There were meds that could have been given to them to kind of subside the symptoms and eventually get rid of the COVID, but he did not allow that to happen. No. He allowed the people to go for themselves. If you get worse, come to the hospital. Hopefully you can get a ventilator. Hopefully you can survive. I don't know. We got to get this vaccine so we can make some money for the medical industry. So you know how I feel about that. You know how I feel about Cuomo. Not just the incident with the nursing home, but the many of people that filled up dump trucks. I mean, frozen trucks, freezers now, and buried off on the island because he didn't see any improvement on using the medication. Didn't say it didn't work. He just said he didn't see where people approved. Well, you were giving it to people in the later stages when it was designed to give to people as soon as they are diagnosed in an outpatient center. Could have kept a lot of people out of the hospital. So that's why I think he should be impeached. That's why I think he should step down. Not only that, he hates unions. He sides with corporations. This guy's no friend of the union person. He don't even know what color he is. I'm white. I'm black. I'm Asian. I'm Puerto Rican. I'm gay. I'm straight. I'm a totem pole. I'm whatever. So I have no political feelings for this guy. I think he's slime. I think he's. Honestly speaking, when the 2 times I met him, I felt so dirty standing next to him. I just feel like he's one of the biggest cons with the biggest smile. I mean, you know, just a con. Just a con guy. And people starting to find out now. You got so many people getting defensive over him and the pain that he's going through. But you didn't feel that way about Trump. I mean, when Trump had his accusation, I felt the same way. When Joe Biden had his accusation, I felt the same way. Now Cuomo got his accusation, I felt the same way. Now, I mean, even when what's his name, the piece of dude, Herman Cain, I was like, I felt the same way. I felt the same way. So let me go ahead and get into this story between Governor Cuomo. This is fresh off the press. Fresh off the presses, baby. Exclusive here, breaking news. Breaking news. Let's get to it. Right here. Oh boy, this is New York Daily News. And all these advertising just keep popping up, getting on my last nerves. I don't see why they got that stuff up here. All right, lawmakers reach a deal on adult use recreation cannabis. So in hopes that you'll smoke some weed and forget about all these issues that you're dealing with, Governor Cuomo finally, after 8 long years, decides to deliver on a promise that he made to get reelected the last few years against Cynthia Nixon. Bad enough he conned and schemed his way into beating her, shaming her, using anti-Semitism against her. He managed to say, vote for me, and not only will I pass Medicare for all, not only will I push the voting registration back, I'll do whatever I can to make it an open primary. Not only will I do that, but I'll legalize marijuana. Well, everybody and their mama passed marijuana legalization. Heck, New Jersey, of all places, beat New York. New Jersey. Shout out to my people in New Jersey. I love you, but this ain't got nothing to do with you. Y'all beat us to marijuana legislation. New York lawmakers said it's finally high time. I guess so. High times. Oh, somebody got a comic punchline in here. High times to legalize marijuana in the Empire State Building. Legislators reached a deal with Governor Cuomo's office Wednesday. Legislators reached a deal with Governor Cuomo's office Wednesday. I guess he's willing to do anything if you can back off him and get the heat off of him, man, for these women. Can't help I'm a touchy-feeling guy, man. I just was brought up that way. Your daddy didn't do that. And I don't see your brother doing that. Well, he always kissing up on Don Lemon. What's up with that, man? Ain't you married? Legislators reached a deal with Governor Cuomo Wednesday on a plan to license dispensaries, opening the door for home delivery option, and even allowing enthusiasts to grow their own limited number of pot plants. So they're going to put in law, you can grow some pot at home. We're going to open up some dispensaries in New York. Now, here's the deal. Majority of people that's locked up right now in jail are blacks. And a lot of them are locked up either for selling weed, smoking weed, next to somebody who has some weed in their pocket, because I almost went down for that, making brownies out of whatever. Before you do that, Governor, you need to release these people if you're going to make marijuana legal. And second thing they need to do is make them the first shot and open up these businesses, starting a legitimate business. Now, look at me. I am not a marijuana guy. Now, I believe the municipal uses for marijuana, seizures, I seen it work. Joint pains, I seen it work. I'm not talking about smoking a joint to get rid of your joint pain. I'm talking about the oil being put on your body. It is a fruit of God. It is a plant. And it has its purpose. It's just that we abuse it. These black men should have first shot at these licensed dispensaries. They should get grant funded. Matter of fact, you should give them money and not expect nothing in return, because you wasted energy, their energy and their lives sitting up in the prison system because you thought it was not good for New York. So you need to release them immediately, give them a huge stipend to start their own business so they can go legit. Now, I ain't gonna be visiting them because I'm not that dude. I drink wine, that's about it. That's about it. A little wine here in blue at a celebration. But I'm not the type of guy to take in stuff. And now I'm almost going on a vegetarian tip. I'm going to watch a lot more what I put in my body. But he is going to open up the door for home delivery options. So tap the app on the phone and we'll send you some weed. We will send you some weed. Under the agreement, cannabis use will be legal for adults over 21. Sorry, that's a shame. New York made the statutory limitation to get involved with a young lady at 17. So a woman that's 17 years old can marry a man 25, 35, 45 is legal. In New York, and I don't understand how anybody, why would you mess with somebody that young anyway? But you can actually be in a relationship with somebody for 17 years old in New York, but you can't smoke or use or get some candy from, the weed trucks in Times Square. You can't go over there and get none of that unless you're over 21. But I can mess with your sister who's 17 and I'm 31. That don't make no freaking sense. Cannabis use will be legal for adults over 21 who could possess up to 3 ounces of pot for personal use. Up to 3. Budget officials have estimated that the program, once fully up and running, could bring in about $350 million a year in revenue to the states. And I say that $350 million should go to the programs that people in majority are making a demand for. It's not to go build a new freaking bridge. It's not to go build a new subway system, even though they need to be built. It should be going toward state-funded programs that people really, really need the most. We got too many people out here homeless. Too many people have mental issues. That's where that money needs to be invested. But let me keep going. Efforts to approve recreation marijuana has repeatedly stalled in Empire State over the past 3 years as Democrats and the legislators sought to set aside a larger portion of a potential tax haul for minority communities. And the governor wanted the state to retain control of the funds. So Democrats, not Republicans, Democrats in the legislature sought to set aside a large portion of a potential tax haul for minority communities. And the governor wanted the state to retain control of the funds. You're going to take this money, you want to put this money over to the side for minority communities. It should be black, mainly black, because mostly black people are in jail for this. Say number 2 is Latinos, number 3 is probably whites, and they probably, but mostly black people. This is a black crime. Now, don't get me wrong, white people smoke weed just like anybody else, but it's us who's locked up the most. And he wants the state to retain control of the funds. Really? The legislation, which could pass both chambers by as early as next week, imposes a 9% state tax on retail sales, and counties would be able to add an additional 4% legally. So if I live outside of New York City, you could tax me up to 14%. Sorry for my buddies up there in the rural areas of, Peekskill and the Catskills. If you plan on smoking some, you better smoke some here in New York City. Townsend City could fully opt out of the program, sources said. New Yorkers have a green thumb. New Yorkers with a green thumb will be able to grow up to 6 pot plants each, either indoors or outdoors. The household will be limited to 12 plants. So you can grow up to 6 pots on your balcony. My ex-girlfriend used to get in an argument with me and call it the terrace. Balcony or terrace, who cares? I don't care. Either indoors or outdoors. So you have 6 inside in your bedroom, 4 in your bedroom, 2 in your bathroom, whatever. But 12. More than a dozen other states have already legalized pot. No kidding. And New York's supposed to lead the nation in all things good. Man, no. Including neighboring New Jersey and Massachusetts. The measure is largely based on the legislators' long-stalled, thanks to Governor Cuomo, Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, and would create a new state office of cannabis management overseeing licensing for growers, wholesale distributors, dispensaries, and even adult use consumption sites. The office would report to a 5-member board made up of appointees picked by the governor and legislators. Under Cuomo's previous plans, the agency running the pot program would have reported to the executives. Early in the day, the governor indicated again that legalizing weed was one of his top budget priorities. No, it won't stop, lying. You stop. You said if we got you reelected, that was the first thing you was going to do. You lied. But you want somebody to believe that you're a truth teller. This year we have to get it done. And getting it done by the time the budget is passed is essential, he said. Cuomo, who in the past had been at odds with legislators over how the state will use the tax money collected on cannabis sale, pitched a $100 million social equity fund last month targeting communities disproportionately impacted by the enforcement of the state drug laws. I hate that word disproportionate. Disproportionately mean targeted by the law enforcement officers to target a certain community, mostly black, and not white communities. Disproportionately. Whenever you hear that word, you need to reject that word. Black people, you're not a disproportionately part of this society. You're a huge portion of this society. And you need to govern yourself as such. You're not a weakling. You're not inferior. You're equal. And in some areas, you may be a little better. Just like in some areas, they may be a little better. But don't you think that you are weaklings in all areas, and don't let them paint you that way with this disproportionately correct. No, you targeted us because you know you can get some simple, easy time just for somebody smoking some weed. His own body. I thought it was my body. My rights. Under the new law, all monies raised from the sales of adult use and medical cannabis would go into a cannabis revenue fund, and in part covering training for law enforcement to detect high drivers, among other related expenses. Why are you taking this money to fund law enforcement officers? Most of this money raised should fund those who were incarcerated for selling weed. Not selling cocaine, not selling crystal meth, not selling flocka. I'm talking about selling weed. It's not a chemical. It is a herb, smoked. You put the plant in the soil, you water it and give it good light, and you got a plant that have buds on it. That's natural farming. Now, some people, they do boost up their weed and things like that. I'm not talking about that stuff. These people are just farming. The people who farm don't get nowhere near half as the people that's selling and distributing. The remaining funds will be divided up to 20% dedicated to the treatment and public education. Bro, nobody need no treatment. Nobody don't need no public education on that. Everybody know weed don't kill nobody. It's people who just love to make money off of weed that probably kill somebody, but weed don't kill nobody. Or to kill your brain cells. Yeah, but okay. But it still don't kill anybody. I never heard somebody who overdosed off a bag of weed. Heck, you can't even get through one bag without falling asleep. I know, because you smoke it. You're going to fall asleep or you're going to be hungry. 40% of is going to the state lottery fund for education. And another 40% dedicated to the fund that will make grants for social equity. How about you take that money and help these black people run the game? How about you do that? How about you let these black people who you locked up be the leaders in this industry, to be the top CEOs of this industry? Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart, cousin of Yonkers, said Tuesday that legislators in the governor's office overcame another potential impediment relating to driving while under influence and the impact of traffic society. The language will be finalized on Wednesday, would maintain that someone driving high could be charged with driving with ability impaired, a misdemeanor offense, and the lowest degree of driving while intoxicated. I agree with that. I agree. It also allows the odor of marijuana to be used as a reason to suspect that the driver is intoxicated, but would bar using the smell of pot as a justification for searching the car for contraband. One of the major tactics where cops trip up people and throw them in jail is saying they smell weed. this will prevent them from doing that. I think we are really, really, really close on marijuana. She said, adding she hoped the final text of the bill will be unveiled within the next day or so. All right, look at that guy. Looked like he had a lot of weed today. A lot of weed. Well, let me give you my point on this before I go to the next story. Never been a fan of Cuomo, and I've been pushing him, and a lot of people have been pushing him to push this marijuana legislation, get it out the way. I am for it because I've seen so many people get railroaded as a result of it. Now, me personally, I don't see people you can do so much more on your own without substance. Whoever told you you have to have a substance to perform in greater heights is telling you that you're not great within your own self. I personally don't smoke it. I've used it on my knees and joints before. My son was disabled with he had seizure issues. Didn't know about it back then, but I would have rather him have that instead of that Tegretol and stuff that kept him asleep and out of it most of the time. You know, I wanted something natural, so I am for municipal use of marijuana. But me personally, I'm not for the fun use of marijuana. You know, I used to sell it. Hey, I know it's some fun to it, but I've grown out of that. I smoked marijuana with a little cocaine in it. You know, I've done a lot of stuff. I've eaten marijuana, you know, in the brownie form. You know, I used to sell them in the brownie forms in Virginia. You know, come to the house, knock on the door, you can get your ice cool cup and some marijuana. So I've been there. And it was a good source of money. I seen a lot of people get locked up for just having it in their pocket, going home to smoke it and relax. Bad day at work. My girl getting on my last nerves. Wish my pops get off my back. I need to escape. People do that. Now, I have other ways where I escape that don't involve weed, but I'm finally glad that Governor Cuomo is going to push this. But my problem with Governor Cuomo is, number one, it don't negate what you've done. And I'm not talking about the women, but on COVID. That right there, you shouldn't even be in office. Number two, big bald-faced liar. Number three, how you railroad unions. Number four, what you're doing to the MTA workers right now is just disgusting. I can go on and on and on. People all over the United States, you think you know Cuomo and you don't know Jack. You don't know this man. You see a little briefing on TV and you think, oh, he's wonderful. Oh, we need him for president. Get rid of Joe Biden. You know, put him in. We're going to get him in 2024. Mighty funny. Boy, them women coming out. He's not going to be a contender for 2024. He ain't going to Anthony Weiner himself out of this. So guess who's going to be the front runner in 2024? Kamala Harris. Sometimes I think that's by design. They wanted to get this man out the way, this white man who posed a threat to that presidency out the way. But she's a disaster waiting to happen based on her record. She was not. Joe Biden was voted in. She just happened to. Happy trails to you because of Joe Biden. But Joe Biden was voted in. She just happened to be the VP. They didn't vote for her. She lost. She had to drop out in the presidential race. Joe Biden saved her. You know, Joe Biden saved her. Now, hopefully, a lot of brothers will be released as a result of them finally realizing that weed is not a chemical. It does not get people hooked like that. You know, you got some people, they don't smoke. They don't be looking for somebody to bust upside the head to get a joint. They don't. The addiction level on marijuana is not that doggone strong. And we got too many people who are just in jail just for trying to get a way of escape. Then you got those who built smart businesses running the game and they got locked up. And my advice, Governor Cuomo, if you want to save some kind of shred of humility and honesty, get these guys out of jail. Make sure they get grants. and help them become first place in starting a legitimate business here in New York.